welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamieka's Den. I am Tamieka. Get on in here, y'all. Get on in here, okay? You are now in the den. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet, honey. So, this is Tamieka's Talk, y'all, and I want to just talk, okay? Have a little chit-chat about Tyler Perry, A Jazzman's Blues. Of course, this came out this past Friday on Netflix. This is written and directed by Tyler Perry, okay? He wrote this over 27 years ago. It was 27 years in the making. He finally was able to bring it into fruition. This is a little different than most of our Tyler Perry's that we used to, right? Most of the stories, movies, plays that we have gotten. We have Joshua Boone in here. We have Soya Pfeiffer and Miss Amira Van, okay? And I love her, Amira. I'm not too sure if I'm butchering up her name, right? But I have seen her in Underground. You know, How to Get Away with Murder. She's on Queen Sugar right now. And I absolutely love her. And she gave it all up in here, you know, as she does with so many of the projects that she is in. So, of course, with this story, we are basically getting a forbidden love. You know, a family that unravels, that has all different kind of secrets. There's 40 years worth of secrets going around right now, right? Secrets and lies that are against a soundtrack of a juke joint blues. So, and of course, this is in the Deep South, and we know we're going to have some racist, you know what I'm saying, stuff going on. We're going to have some violence. You know, we have Bayou, who is a black man who basically falls in love with Leanne, who is passing, all right? And so we know it's going to be some foolishness and foolery once we just, you know what I'm saying, hear that alone. And I see a lot of people comparing this to The Notebook. This has nothing to do with The Notebook. It's nothing like The Notebook. The only similarities between this and The Notebook, and The Notebook is one of my favorites, is maybe later on down the line when they start writing letters to each other. Other than that, this is a completely different story, okay? Let's go ahead and get into it. And so we started out this, you know what I'm saying, movie with basically, you know, seeing this man on the screen. We don't know who he is. He's on this TV and he's talking about how he's running for Congress. You know, he's going to make all these changes. He's saying that his opponent is not from Georgia, where they're from. He don't know about the lives that they live because he's not from there, right? And that he basically, you know, comes from Atlanta or whatever the case may be, right? And he has all these other agendas, you know, and that, you know, once he is elected into office, he will put a stop to all this, put a change to all of this, you know, foolishness or whatever, right? He's going to do away with it. And they basically talk about, you know, the racism that's going on down there. And he's basically saying, you know, why does white people always have to be racist, okay? He says, I'm not racist at all, okay? How many times have you heard that, right? And he basically, you know, we see this lady when he gets to that part of saying that, where she just turns this TV off and says, all right, you know, I've had just about enough of you, Mr. White Man. She turned the TV off, and the next thing you know, we see her walking down this road. We see her go across these train tracks. She is on this long walk, okay, with her cane, just moving it on along, all right? We don't quite know who she is yet at this point either. And then when she gets to the office, we see that the same man that was talking about this run on, you know, in Congress, and that his family is full of politicians. He comes from a very political family that obviously has been running things there probably for generations or whatever have you, right? We see her get to his office, and his secretary come in and say, listen, she been waiting here a long time. She not budging. She not going nowhere. She says she not leaving until you see her. And he's basically like, look, I'm busy, okay? I don't know what you want me to tell you. I ain't got no time to stop and talk to nobody, right? And at this point, she basically just barges into his office, you know, and then he end up telling his secretary, like, it's all right. And he's like, you know, what can I do to help you? What seems to be the issue? What is the problem? So she tells him that she wants to talk to him about this murder. And he's like, well, you in the wrong place. You know, have you taken this to the police? He's like, you know, that's not, you know, what I'm here for. And she says, no, this is definitely a story that you need to hear about, okay? It needs to come to you. And, you know, he's basically saying, like, you know, Miss, trying to figure out her name or whatever, right? And she lets him know that her name is Miss Hattie Mae, all right? And she says that he needs to look into this murder that happened in Hopewell. And so basically she says they killed him right here in this town in 1947. And he's like, Okay, who are we talking about? Like, you want me to look into this murder that happened 40 years ago? And he was like, I'm sorry. So she basically cut him off and was like, because he was telling her he can't help her and that he should direct her to the sheriff's office. She said no. She says, listen, I never wrote nothing down on paper. She takes out this stack of daggone envelopes, okay? She said, but he wrote down everything. This is everything you need to know. And she puts this big stack from her purse, okay, down on his desk, and she begins, to go ahead and walk away. That's all she was coming here to do, is to give this to him. So now when he picks it up and he looks at it, he sees the name Leanne Harper, and this seems to catch his daggone attention, because at first he looked like he was ready to just toss them away. Now, once he sees that, he sits down and he begins to read it. So we just transition from that. Okay, we don't know exactly what he's reading in this letters and where this is going. We transition from that to basically seeing, these people out here partying, right, and out on their land. We hearing some music, we seeing some singing, okay, and we get introduced to Miss Hattie Mae, who is Bayou's mother. She over here singing, and her husband is, basically playing these instruments along with some other guys that's sitting there playing the instruments with them, right? And we see that he is coming off really nasty and, saying, well, one of my sons is good for something and the other one is not, right? He basically wants Bayou to come over and pick up a horn and play with him. But apparently we learned quick, fast, and in a hurry that Bayou is not good at playing the horn, right? His brother Willie Earl is better. And so you could tell that he's kind of pitting one against each other. He thinks one is better at things than the other one and all of that kind of stuff. And then Bayou's feelings, definitely seemed very hurt. At the same time, Bayou basically notices Leanne for the first time, right? He's asking, like, who is that? And they basically like, oh, that's Miss Leanne, aka Bucket, okay? She is called Bucket. And he was like, well, why is she called Bucket? They said because her mother dumped her here like a bucket and then ran off, back to the north. And they say she lived with her grandfather, and he's basically, an evil old thing. And so, Bayou was in his feelings because when his brother get on the horn, everybody's back to dancing and being happy. When he was on the horn, they was like, oh no, that sounds horrible. Okay, get him out of here. So he goes down and he's just by this pond throwing rocks in it. And you have the girl Leanne follow him down there, and, he was singing or whatever, right? And so I said, shoot, his voice sound good. Then why he didn't just sing instead of, trying to play the horn, right? That was my first thought. And she basically says what I was thinking. She's like, you should have just sung it. And he says, well, my father don't like my singing voice. He want me to go ahead and play the horn. So she made a comment like, well, I think maybe your father don't know so much. And he get kind of offended and was like, that's my pa, okay? You watch your mouth and how you talking about him, right? And he tells her that his name is, I think it was Horton John or John Horton, but he says everybody calls him Bayou. And she was saying, well, why do they call you Bayou? Oh, my father said my eyes as deep as the bayou. And she's like, let me look at your eyes. She said, well, they look normal to me. So at this point, she don't agree with what his father said about his eyes. She don't agree with his father about the horn. So, of course, this is when she makes the comment like, your father really doesn't seem to know much. And he basically comes back with an attitude like, listen here, first of all, don't call me that. Call me Bayou, because that's what everybody calls me, Bucket, okay? And comes back to her with an attitude. And basically checked her on, not talking out of pocket about his father. So she's like, well, I don't like to be called Bucket. My name is Leanne Harper, okay? And you call me that or you don't call me nothing. So they get off to a shaky start. Of course, she almost slips and falls, and he catches her. And so this is the beginning of, well, I guess you want to call it a friendship that they basically begin to form, right? And so, oh, child, listen. From that point on, she was telling him that, he really could sing and all of that kind of stuff. And this kind of becomes a regular tradition for them to meet back and forth by this tree. One day he gets all dressed up in this suit, ready to go over to ask her to this social event. And at the same time, his father's coming in with Willie Earl, and he's bigging him up and praising him, how he do everything right. He went out here and hunt. He caught all this stuff. He's telling Willie Earl to go ahead and skin it so they could be ready to cook it. But Mama had a maid said, I'll handle it. Let him go ahead and do what he's doing. You go, I'ma take care of it. So they asked where he's going, and she's like, he want to ask this girl to the formal. And Willie Earl is just a doodle brain, okay? He's just nasty from the get-go. He's taken completely after the father. For some reason, the father's teaching him to basically hate this boy, and I'm trying to understand where it's coming from. I kept trying to figure out, is it because that's not his son and he treats him differently because it's not his biological son? Is it a thing of colorism? Maybe a little bit of both, because we see that the mother is light whereas the father is dark, okay? And then Bayou is dark and Willie Earl is light, and it just seemed like he's more, favorable to Willie Earl, right? And of course he's constantly saying how Willie Earl does all these things right, but he's always going in hard on Bayou. At one point, Bayou even asked, like, well, Mama, why they always treat me that way? And she tells him, not to worry about them. And for some reason, Willie Earl goes out of his way, like, oh, what girl? You talking about Bucket? And he decides to chase him down and tell him that she's not going to like him. She's not going to be interested in him. He's wasting his time, and he literally pushes him on the floor so that his shirt and stuff could get dark, and messed up from the dirt or whatever, right? And keeps screaming to him that she doesn't want you, she's not going to like you, she's not going to go nowhere with you. Now, when he knocks him down on the ground and is trying to basically bully him and beat him up, his mama, okay, Hattie Mae, ends up coming with, like, a switch and hitting him and telling him to get off of him. And telling Bayou to go ahead, and he's trying to clean himself up the best he can. And Willie Earl is still screaming after him, like, nobody is not going to like you. Nobody is not going to want you. So I'm like, what the heck is going on here, And when he gets to Leanne's house, her grandfather's basically like, what are you doing here? Of course, he gets nervous, and he makes up a story about he helps his mom with the laundry because she does do washing for people, and they just wanted to know if they needed any washing. And her grandfather's kind of like, do I look stupid to you? Don't come back around here. Don't bring yourself back around here anymore. And so we just see more of interactions with them, whether it's at dinner, whether, just sitting around talking, where the father's always coming at, Bayou. He's always disgusted by him. He's always feeling like he's not doing stuff good enough. He's constantly, saying Willie Earl does it all right. And even when he gets pissed off at dinner and he gets up, he's telling Willie Earl to come with him. The mother's like, no, Willie Earl, you sit there and finish dinner. And he's like, I said come with me. And then Willie Earl just still, gets up and leave with him or whatever, right? And then we start to see, like, Leanne comes and she throws this paper airplane through the window. And this was her way of getting messages to him, writing these little notes, right? But she doesn't know at the time that Bayou actually can't read. So when he comes out by this tree to meet her where they first met at, she's like, did you read what I wrote you? And she's like, wait, you don't know how to read, right? So it becomes this thing where she basically, over time, they keep meeting by this tree, and she begins to teach him how to read. She's reading to him. They're reading together. He starts reading on his own. In the meantime, he's thinking that is this big secret that his mother doesn't know, that he's, sneaking out the house, right? And she don't know how he's learning to read, but she does kind of notice over time that he's standing outside reading books. She don't really ask no questions about nothing, And she would just be basically looking, and he's swearing that is this big, hidden secret. But of course his mama know what the heck is going on. She just basically wasn't saying nothing about it yet, right? And it didn't matter whether it was raining or what was going on day or night. They would meet. They would meet late at night once everybody was asleep, because she said her grandfather always drunk and passed out at night. And they would basically hurry up and get back in before his mother could wake up. It was one time when she was even asking him, can he stay a little longer? And he's like, no, I got to be back before my mama get up. And so one of the times when he just had snuck back in early in the morning, you got his mother and father arguing, and her saying, you better not ever put your hands on me. I'm getting tired of you and your mess. If you do it again, I'll end up killing you behind. And so she was like, I'll meet your soul in the gates of hell if you even think about touching him, right? And so he basically decides to say that Bayou is just like his black ass daddy. And so at this point, he's like saying Willie Earl makes him so proud and whatever, right? So he says he going up to Chicago. So by him saying that, I'm like, okay, so I'm assuming that this is not his child, right? He feels that Willie Earl is his child, Bayou is not, and so that's where I guess some of the animosity is supposed to come from. But I'm like, then why marry this woman and be with her for all these years just to like torture her son and treat him like crap because you don't feel like he's yours? But we have some people that's like that, right? You can't make sense out of no sense. So he says he's going to Chicago, right? He gonna hit it big, and he gonna end up performing at the Capitol Royale. He gonna show them and all of this different kind of stuff, right? And he basically goes in this jar and takes her money, and she's like, "Yo, that's my money. That's what we need to survive. That's what we gotta live on." I'm assuming that's probably money that she makes from doing the washing that she does for people, right? And sometimes we would see this person, Sissy, come over and help her. So, the son, Willie Earl, is saying, like, Dad, take me with you. But he telling him no, the road is no place for him. And he's actually just taking out even more anger on his mother, saying it's her fault, that his father has told him the truth about her. He's taking out more anger on, Bayou. So you just have it split where Bayou pretty much is like close with the mother, and Willie Earl was close with the father, and they both kind of stand on those sides with each of the parents, right? And then Willie Earl Bayou goes to let Leanne know, like, I'm not going to be able to see you as much, right? I'll still see you, but it'll probably have to be later because my father left, and therefore that means I'm going to have to help my mom more. I'm going to have to be around to give her support. I will still come, but it's going to be later than the usual time, right? And at this point, they're starting to kiss more. They're starting to get into each other more. When they was first hanging out, they really just was kind of doing their reading, and that was that, right? But now they really starting to get more into each other, have more feelings and all of that type of thing. So now at this point, Willie Earl packs up, and he talking about he going behind, the father. He gonna go to Chicago too, and he gonna make it. He not gonna stay down here, around them. Of course, at first, his mom is trying to stop him, but basically, he ends up going. And we have this point where Bayou is trying to sneak over to Leanne because he's wondering why she haven't came out, and buy the tree or whatever. And of course, he ends up finding out that her grandfather is doing all different type of unspeakable, disgusting things to her, right? And he just hides, and he feels shame about that because he's saying, he should have been able to go in and to protect her, and that apparently he never even brings this up to her and lets her know that he saw this horrible thing happening to her, right? And he basically ends up saying that, he loves her, he wants to marry her, he wants them to run away together. They all trying to say that they're going to have this plan to go away. Of course, we know it's not going to go that way, right? And when we next see Sissy talking to his mother, she's trying to get her to move to another town, right? She's saying there's nothing left here and ain't nothing going on. A lot of people are picking up and moving now. At this point, you done had Buster leave you, your husband. You done had your son, Willie Earl, leave you. And she's like, right by you, why don't you tell her? So he even says to his mother, like, yeah, hey, that might be a good idea. She's saying, you want to leave here too? And he says, yeah, not for nothing. I just actually talked to Leanne and told her I loved her, told her that I wanted me and her to move away and get married. And so Sissy ends up telling him, like, what are you talking about? She getting ready to leave. Like, her mother done came to get her. And he's like, what? And he goes running there, whatever. And his mom is kind of looking at Sissy like, why the heck you tell him that? And she was like, girl, they probably gone already by now. He ain't going to catch them anyway. But he does catch up to the car, and he's kind of begging and pleading with her. She's sitting there crying, and the mother steps to him like, oh, her grandfather told me what you've been doing or whatever, and if you don't get out of here, I'm going to tell the sheriff. So in other words, the grandfather's trying to put it on him as if he's been sexually assaulting her, something like that, when the whole time her grandfather with his damn, dirty behind is the one that she really should be worried about, right? I don't know if this was supposed to be her father's father or what, but, basically Bayou is just left there really hurting, and she's gone. So from this point on, he goes into the military, the army or whatever, right? And of course, this whole time, he's writing her letters, and her mother is literally telling the mailman, like, first of all, send these back and send anything that comes from this place back. So she's not getting any of the letters that he's writing, right? but he's just steadily writing them. And then he ends up getting hurt and he ends up getting discharged out of the military. And when he comes home, come to find out his mama got this juke joint going. She getting a lot of customers. She's doing real good as far as that concerned. And she's also still doing like the washing and stuff like that on the side, right? She got a full house, though. Everybody comes out to her club. She's singing her behind off. She looking good. And I have to say, like, I love the costumes. I love, when they were singing and performing and different stuff like that, right? Absolutely a great job. And so at one point now, Willie Earl decides to bring his behind home, right? And he's looking good too, but we noticing some funny stuff going on with Willie Earl, right? He comes and she's like, oh, my other son is here. He got to get on the horn and play. And he's telling her how he's been doing real good. He's doing these shows in Chicago. Okay, he done brought back a friend with him, all right, Mr. Ira, who apparently has been his manager, has been booking him in different places. And, Ira comes from Europe, but he done been to Paris and France and all this other stuff and setting him up, with things in Chicago. And she like, yeah, okay, but what's going on with you? Why you so fidgety? Why you sweating? Okay, we can obviously see that there's some drugs involved, right? But he's telling her he's just excited to see her. We also found out that somewhere down the line, honey, in Chicago, their father died. And Bayou basically says, like, Willie Earl never brings up anything of this or talks about it, right? He also says that Willie Earl is pretty much just like the father Buster, right? And you don't know when they're telling the truth and when they're lying. And so the guy, Ira, basically ends up passing out cold, okay? And they got to take him back to the house. And of course, his mom is really worried about this because he's a white man when it's all said and done. So she like, we don't need to be having him here at the house. But he says, Mama, nobody can take care of him, like you can, right? This is something else that she does for people. Take care of them, right? And so she's doing her best to make him feel better, but she tells Willie Earl, I'm going to need you to go ahead and drive me into town for me to be able to get some more things, for me to take care of stuff. And he's like, well, why I got to be me? She said, because you don't know what to do as far as staying here with him, right? But Bayou does. And, initially before that, she has sent Bayou to go ahead and drop some stuff off to her, right, where Sissy is at, right? I think she was dropping off some clean clothes that she had already cleaned, right? And we found out that Sissy works for the sheriff and that the sheriff has this brother named John that's running for mayor. So lo and behold, it just so happens to be, of course, a small but big world, or big but small world at the same time, right? Who is it that should be popping up back there? First when Bayou comes to drop the stuff off, Sissy tells him he could sit down for a minute. But then we have this sheriff come in and say, no Negroes ain't supposed to be sitting down in my house. This boy got to get up out of here. She apologizes and was like, I told him he could sit for a minute because he just came all this way with the laundry. And who's coming in behind him for him to introduce? But Leanne, baby, okay, she now with the damn sheriff, okay, talking about that they getting married, they engaged and all this. Of course, Bayou recognizes the voice and the name immediately and is heartbroken, right? And she's coming in basically passing as a white woman. Her and her mama is right behind her. And, Sissy don't catch on at first, but then she realizes after the fact what's going on, right? And he comes in so heartbroken, and at the same time, of course, what Willie Earl doing? He finding the letters that he been writing, and he reading them and making fun and stuff. And so, of course, with Bayou just from this, being heartbroken, he come in and snatch the stuff out of Willie, Earl's hand, and is very upset or whatever about it, right? And at the same time, we see in the end tell her mother, like, this is dangerous, I think we should go back. But her mother saying, no, this is our only option. You gonna have to make it work, girl, because the man she was with apparently died. So now she's basically depending on her daughter to sit here and fake this whole damn life and, be with this damn guy, John. And she's telling her, like, Ma, there's people here that will recognize me, and I think I saw, Bayou. And she's telling her some crap about is a figment of her imagination. Now we finally get Ira waking up, and Bayou is just basically making sure he got something to drink, he got something to eat. He asking him if he's okay, and he's telling him, yeah, right, he's finally coming around. And then we have, John and the sheriff and all of them sitting down to dinner, and they saying this story of how them two met, that it was apparently at school and it was love at first sight. And, the sheriff is saying, we got our niggers under control down here. I said, Lord, child, I can't. So, we have them back at the Jew joint partying it up or whatever the case may be. And, Mama up here singing, of course, doing her thing. Now, Ira's doing a little bit better, so he's sitting up now. And, of course, Willie Earl is just reiterating to Ira, like, listen, you up and around and doing better, right? We gonna get back up here to Chicago. You gonna help me because I done helped you. You said that you could put these things in place. You could get me in the capital where I am. Of course, this is the same place that his father was talking about. You're gonna do what you gotta do. And he says, look, I will call them tomorrow. I will get you in, but I think that, some things need to be different and all of that kind of stuff, right? And so in the meantime, Bayou mother tells him to come on up and sing, right? He more so got the singing from his mama, and, Willie Earl got the horn from his daddy. And so now when he come up here and he's singing, he catches Ira attention. Ira like, wait a minute, this boy could blow, right? There might be something here, And of course, you already seeing Willie Earl looking like a jealousy type of thing, right? There's always been a competition between them. Now, Miss Daggone Leanne decides to bring her behind down here, driving around looking, okay, and finding Bayou in this car. And he's telling her, look, this is dangerous. You can't be popping up and coming down here to where the daggone black people at. Are you crazy? You could get me and you killed. Don't come down here again. And she's saying she had to. And she's basically telling him, like, just like old times, because she's feeling like, they sneaking like when they was kids. And he's like, nah, this ain't like the old times. Believe that, it's completely different. Now you are basically down here portraying yourself as a damn white woman, okay, and supposed to be marrying the damn sheriff's brother. And so, basically, Sissy was on her way, right, to pick him up, and he had to hurry up and jump out the car, go over to Sissy without making it obvious. You could see that Sissy is damn drunk. She over here jumping on his back and everything. Leanne want to look like she damn jealous when you got a whole damn man that you about to marry. So how damn jealous could you be, girl? I'm trying to understand it. And basically when they coming back past, the sheriff is stopped at her car, and he have to ask Sissy to please do him a favor and say that Leanne was on her way to get her, but he already beat her to it and picked her up, right? And the sheriff falls for it, but he gives Leanne a warning, like, let the Negro people take care of the Negro people, basically, right? And don't let this happen again, or I will tell your husband, John. So I thought that was really interesting, okay? And so, of course, she's here living this double life, and she's coming out with an attitude to Sissy. And Sissy's like, look, you've been nice to me for the most part. What is this attitude from, right? And that's when she puts the two and two together and realizes that it's behind this, behind Bayo. And she's like, first of all, girl, he's been going crazy over you. You're all he talk about. He haven't been with nobody else because he been worried about your damn ass writing you all these letters like, get it together. And second of all, do you know how dangerous this is and how much trouble and stuff like that you could cause us? We could be killed for this. She said, I don't understand everything that you're doing as far as this passing thing, but then sometimes I gotta stop and say, if I could pass, would I, right? And so she was basically like, I don't blame you for that part. So now you have John come in and say, what's going on? Why you up so late? And she was saying, oh, she can't sleep or whatever, and telling Leanne to sit down. And she was like, I'm gonna make you something to help you sleep, and I'm gonna go ahead and get up this stain and stuff like that, right? Soon as she changed her dress and stuff. So, Cedar been helping Leanne a whole lot. And we have her daggone, fiance sit down at the table with her, and he's basically saying, is it the heat? It's too hot for you. You're not used to this. He said, you've been getting out of the bed a lot lately, right? and you'll get used to being here, right? You'll come home. He was like, this is gonna be your home, so you better get used to it. This is our home now. And she's basically shaking her head saying no, and tells him this is not our home. And basically he tells her pretty simple, because she was telling him she wanted to go back to Boston. He said, look, you ain't going back here, okay? You could either stay here and make a life with me, or your ass could be, down in the damn lake somewhere, drowned, okay, where they could never find your damn body. You're not going to cause me any embarrassment. You're not going to cause me any hurt, any pain, or whatever the case may be. It's either you be with me or you be dead. That's your choices, basically, is what he freaking pretty much said to her. And so we also find out, as she's basically here, chilling with him and her mom watching TV, we hearing some noise, and she's like, are you expecting any guests? And it's like, no. And come to find out, her mama, because at one point, she's doing all this sneaking out the house again. She had met up with Bayou, and basically Bayou rather, right? Basically they done got it in the truck, and her mother had drove past and seen the whole thing. So now when she's sitting at the house with her hubby, or soon to be hubby, she's hearing noises like somebody about to come, and they both go into the door, and she's looking at her mother, and she's saying to him, are you expecting anybody? He's like, no. Well, mama done went and made a report that Bayou was freaking whistling at her early in the day. She's telling them over and over, no, that's not true. No, he wasn't even here. We was here by ourselves. And she's basically saying to her mother, like, how could you do this? You're such a wicked, horrible person, And she's trying to leave and go warn them and all of that. And the mother hid the car keys from her. So Sissy was able to get there and was able to warn them. And since Willie Earl was about to leave to go to Chicago anyway, they pretty much was like, take him with you. If they didn't, you had people coming out here with these damn, flames, everything sticks and whatever on fire. And we know what the hell they was trying to do to him. And they come to his mother house looking for him, but he's not there. She's telling them, he been left, right? And she basically says, you're going to burn my place down, because this sheriff been making money off her juke joint place, right? And so he's like, watch your tongue or whatever. But he does tell them, like, he's not there. So, Bayou was able to get out safely, thank God, right? And then he's all sick and crying and still want to go back home. And he asked Ira to pull up, over the car, and he's sick outside. And Ira tells him, like, listen, I know it's not exactly the same thing, but I am Jewish, okay? They took us from our homes. They put us in concentration camps. They killed whoever, couldn't work. I literally had to see my wife and child killed. I couldn't help them. I couldn't save them, but I helped a whole bunch of other people. So he was saying to him, like, if you really want to be a help to your mother, you got to survive. You got to live. You got to go here to Chicago and do what you got to do or whatever, right? To make that happen. You're no good to them if you go back there. And had you stayed there, you would have been dead. And so they do get there. And they go in for this, audition, right? But for whatever reason, while they was getting ready to do the audition, Willie Earl decides to turn around and walk out, probably to go get high, now that I'm thinking back on it, right? And he's not there when it's time to sing. So basically, Bayou ends up getting the lead part, right? He becomes the star of the show, right? He becomes a headliner. The lines are long for him. And we have Willie Earl going back, having this damn heroin problem, shooting up every damn chance he get. Some days he supposed to be playing the horn. He not playing the damn horn. Other days he want to come late, but he want to take over the show. And it's like, this is your fault. You the one that walked out. So nobody did this to you but you. He's basically getting advances and owing the club money and all different kind of crazy stuff, right? In the meantime, Bayou is sending his mother all these letters, and he's putting money in it, and they're basically stealing the damn money out of the damn envelope. She's not getting it. So, of course, he starts to say, I'm going to have to go home, right? Even if it's for one day, I need to go back. You also had him trying his best to get his brother off of these damn drugs, telling him, maybe if you wasn't sticking that needle in your arm every minute, you wouldn't have this problem. You have them get into a big blowout and fight, and his brother literally pull out a gun on him, ready to kill him over, getting these drugs. And basically he ends up getting fired. Willie Earl does, okay? And of course he blames this on Bayou, says he always hated him, and he's always, pretty much been dirt and he can't wait. And, you know, if he do go back home, he gonna get killed and all of that kind of stuff, right? And at the same time, we seeing at this point that Leanne is pregnant. She done went and got married. So it's looking like she's moving on with her life and he is, you know, going on with his. He's doing show after show after show. He has a record that's out at one point while his mother is shopping. She's hearing the record playing on the radio. She starts smiling. And of course, what does he call it but something that has to do with airplanes because of the whole, you know, Leanne throwing the little airplane, paper airplanes through the window. And again, Debbie Allen did her thing with the choreography, the outfits, the singing, the dancing, all of that was great. Then when Leanne goes into labor, for whatever reason, she comes to, you know, Sissy, and Sissy brings her there to Hattie Mae, and they like, well, why the hell you bringing her here? She needs to go to the white people hospital. Well, no, she asked to come here, right? And apparently what's going on is that this is Bayou's baby, and she was scared that baby was going to come out black, okay? I don't know what the heck she was going to do if that would have happened, but nonetheless, you know, Hattie Mae does help her deliver the baby, right? And then you have a cousin that comes there to Chicago, and, you know, Bayou's just kind of asking him, like, is my mother getting the money? Is she getting the letters? He was like, you know, they ain't going to be giving your mother no damn money, right? And he asked him, can he give her the money? And he was like, you know, you really can't depend on me to give it either. Look, I appreciate his honesty, okay? And so at this point, he tells Ira, look, I gotta go and see my mother. He was like, they're not gonna bother me if my mother just has one night at the juke joint place where, you know, we jamming or whatever the case may be, right? And Ira's like, you sure about that? And are you sure you want to go back for your mother, or are you just trying to go back, you know what I'm saying, for Leanne? Like, let's be real here. Like, do you really want to sacrifice that? You know how much trouble that could be. And he over here talking about, yeah, it's not going to be no big deal, I promise you. Then we could come right back and we could get right back to how things are. And despite him knowing that his life is in damn danger, despite him knowing that, you know, his brother is trash and he done pulled out a gun on him and threatened him and all of this, he still go and take his behind, you know, literally pulling the damn needle out of his brother's arm, gets him dressed and was like, we're going back down, we're going to see mama. Now, meanwhile, the whole time he's saying this, his brother's saying to him over and over, they gonna kill you and I'm gonna watch them kill you. You know, you got Leanne every minute bringing this baby to Sissy, talking about he looked like he getting darker and darker. She like, girl, he looked the same way he looked today, yesterday, the day before that, and the day before that. I don't see no difference. So needless to say, they go back down, they make this trip, you know, he's introducing his band and they saying they're going to perform. They telling everybody in town they got this surprise for them, but they didn't let them know what it was because they didn't want the word of, you know, Bayou is back to get around town. But here come Willie Earl with his raggedy ass. I said, you really hate your brother that much? Like, seriously? He coming up to the show, you know, sir, I think it's somebody here that you've been looking for, sir, that you might be interested in, sir. You know, really went and told on his damn brother. And so they here jamming, you know, she called him up to perform. He come up and perform. You know, of course, Ira and security and everybody is worried about him, but he's saying, no, he okay. He could go and he could walk on his own. You know, he coming up to Leanne, telling her he never thought he was going to see her again. He's so happy to see her. He's swearing he going to be able to run off with her and this damn baby, because Sissy was even saying to his mother, like, he got a right to know that that's his child. And she basically was like, nah, you know, don't tell him, right? And then Willie Earl is getting on the stage to perform. And I feel like Sissy could kind of like, you know, tell and see that if something was about to go down before it even did. And the next thing you know, you hearing some yelling and cries and shooting or whatever. And, you know, the band stops and then Willie Earl is crying. And you hearing the people coming with these damn, you know, lit up damn freaking sticks or whatever. And I don't know why freaking Bayou thought that he could jump out of the damn, you know, bus or whatever and be able to talk sense into them. He talking about, give me a minute, ain't nothing gonna happen, you know, stay right here, don't move, shush, be quiet or whatever. And he come out saying that he can't run no more, whatever the case may be, right? And she's telling him not to go, and he's saying he'll be right back. And he come out talking about, sheriff, sir, Sir, let me talk to you. Hold up a minute. Let's have a conversation. Jackson, come on, come this way or whatever. Because they was literally about to walk past them, and then he caught their attention, and they like, there he is, and he like, whoa, whoa, wait, 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 wait. Let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. Like, no, they not coming to damn talk. You see a whole bunch of damn racist ass men walking. You know damn well they not coming here to talk. You know. And so at this point, she yelling and screaming on the bus or whatever have you. And of course they get him, and of course they end up, hanging him. And everybody else is starting to duck down at this point because they hearing these damn gunshots, and they want to make sure, like, you know what I mean, ain't nobody shooting in that area for any of them to get hit. And then a lady comes in and was like, they dragging him to that field, and she, his mother's like, who? And they all go running out. And of course, the next thing she know and she see is her baby hanging there. She's basically grabbing at him, telling people to cut him down. They all standing there looking mortified, Willie Earl want to freaking cry after the fact. He had already started crying on the stage, but it's like, really, Willie Earl? Like, do I really need to see your fake ass tears? You said over and over and over as many chances as you could that you couldn't wait to see him hang, and this is what he was going to deserve. You're literally the one that went and ratted him out. So am I supposed to really feel right now that your conscience started bothering you? Now, I will say I would have liked to see how this affected him later on down the line, because I just was like, it's the audacity for me, y'all. It really is. Like, I get, we have disputes and we say things sometimes or whatever, but the fact that you really went that far just was like a whole nother level. So needless to say, we get to this part where we see the man from the beginning. He walks in, he's looking at these pictures on the wall. It looks like he went home and his wife was saying, your mom's been here for a couple hours. Where have you been? He was saying he got delayed, and she said, she's basically listening to this song over and over and over, that song's record that she always liked to play. And when he gets in the living room, basically his mother, of course, is Miss Leanne, and of course she is playing Paper Airplanes, all right, by Bayou, aka, John Hurd, right? And he comes in and basically throws those letters down that Miss Hattie Mae brought to him. Now, mind you, they were saying she having a bad day. She's been out of it. She really don't know what's going on. It's been one of those kind of days. I'm assuming she suffers with dementia. But the minute he threw the letters down, she automatically knew what it was. We found out, that this is Jonathan. Actually Bayou and Leanne's son, right? And they're telling her, like, your son is here, because she's not even acknowledging anything at this point. And when he puts these letters down, that seems to bring some type of recognition to her, right? And the tears just start flowing down, flowing down, flowing down. And he gets up and walks outside. And isn't it so ironic that he walks outside and sits on the porch? Meanwhile, they looking at him like, what's going on here? And what is waving back and forth, but a Confederate damn flag. So this man done lived his whole damn life thinking he was a white man, hating black people, saying how he gonna, make sure this affirmative action can't go forward. And here it is. You black. You are black, sir. His whole life was a lie. So, I don't know, y'all. That was quite interesting. It definitely was interesting, to say the least, okay? Y'all put it in the comments. Let me know what y'all thought about this. What was your thoughts? If there's anything you felt like I left out, put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. What was your take on this whole thing? Like, comment, share, subscribe if you are so inclined. Okay, give me a wave, let me know you came by, put some flames up in the sky. All right, y'all, till next time, toodaloo.